Welcome to Her Life Unscripted podcast, inspiring burnt out, stressed out, and stretched thin women to embrace the unscriptedness of life. Hosted by Anna Osborne.
Hello, ladies, and welcome to Her Life Unscripted episode 41. I'm excited to be here with all of you today. As you can tell, my voice is a little froggy. I have actually been sick for like 2 weeks. I had bronchitis and a sinus infection and an ear infection, and I was absolutely leveled. Like, I honestly don't know the last time I have been that sick. And so it is nice to feel like I'm kind of coming out of the fog that I feel like I've been in. And also, I'm grateful that I recorded the first few episodes of this year's segment before the new year, because right like the day after New Year's, I got really, really sick. And so it's nice to know that I was able to actually have some stuff stockpiled and planned and actually get that information out to you guys while I was sick in bed. So anyways, it is great to be here with all of you today. Today was actually my first day back to the gym also after 2 weeks of literally just being in bed and being sick. And it's crazy to me, first of all, how much our bodies can just, when they haven't been moving or breathing in fresh air or any of those sorts of things or taking lots of medication, how our bodies can just feel so disjointed. And I also am recognizing too that movement, it was definitely hard today. And I definitely felt all those first day pains, but man, did it feel good to go out there and kind of, work out with the ladies that I work out with and have some of that great camaraderie and just being able to feel like, all right, I'm coming back to life. So I'm just excited to be here with all of you today. And today, as you guys know, for the whole month of January, we've been doing this great theme on balance being BS, right? And not buying into this idea that we have to be balanced or that everything has to be perfectly aligned, but instead that we are really moving towards this idea of wellness. And we've been spending the month really looking at what does wellness mean and how do we really establish that wellness in our lives. So today we've got an amazing guest interview with Tara Whitney. And I have to say, I am so grateful for this woman. We have met and spoke over the phone. We had a mutual acquaintance introduce us. And I've had to reschedule her twice because I literally have had no voice. And she has been so kind and loving and just, encouraging me to take care of myself and that we'll record when we're ready and all those sorts of things. So I'm really excited to introduce you guys to her because she's just been so kind and loving to me over these last few weeks as I've been really struggling with getting over bronchitis and whatnot. So I'm excited to introduce you guys to her. But before we do that, I have an exciting announcement I've been kind of hinting at and letting you guys know about this retreat, this live event that's coming up, and we officially have dates, and I have a co-collaborator on the retreat, and it is just going to be amazing. We are calling it the Shine Retreat for Women because it's all about learning how to connect with those parts of ourselves that maybe have gone dim over time or feel like they're not as bright and shiny as we want them to be, and really connecting with that spirit side of ourselves and also connecting with other women. So we are focused during this retreat on connection, restoration, and fun. And I just know it's going to be amazing. It's going to be in Southern California, September 29th through October 1st. And we've got the little save the date out, and we're getting ready to share the registration link here in the next couple weeks. So for those of you that are super interested and you want to know more about this retreat, it is this amazing collaboration with Mari Lee. She was on the podcast a number of episodes ago, and by far her episode was one of the most popular. And I just absolutely know that you guys will get so much out of this retreat. It is for all women just coming together. We're keeping it small and intimate. So I do encourage you, if you're interested, do reach out and let me know so you can be the first to get the registration link. And it's just going to be a beautiful, beautiful event. Like I said, the dates are September 29th through October 1st of this year, 2017, and it'll be down in Southern California. We're still deciding between two amazing venues. So as soon as we get that finalized, we'll be able to get you guys the registration info. You're welcome to email me at Anna@herlifeunscripted.com if you're interested. And then also Mari and I set up an email address, info@shineretreatforwomen.com, so that you can send over, if you're super interested and want to make sure you get the link for registration in real time, you can send an email there too. So either places, we'll get you the email and we'll get you the link. I'll also include those links in the show notes too, because I'm just so excited that it's coming together. And for those of you that haven't had a chance to listen to Mari's episode, I so encourage you to do that. It is an amazing episode, and I'll look up the episode number so that I can get that to you guys too if you're interested in listening. So that's kind of what we've got going on for this new year. I'm really, really excited to be able to meet some of you in person and be able to really have this amazing time for us to slow down and connect with ourselves and obviously connect with each other and just really, kind of grow this community and Mari's amazing community. It's just going to be awesome. So that is what we've got planned, and I cannot wait for it to all come together. Oh, and real quick before I forget, her episode is 25. So if you guys want to give that a listen, you'll get an amazing introduction to just Mari and I's energy and how we just really, really adore each other. And so I'm excited to be able to share the Shine Retreat with you guys. So again, go ahead and email me to Anna@HerLifeUnscripted if you want to get on the list to get the registration link in real time, or you're welcome to email both Mari and myself to info@shineretreatforwomen.com. So that is kind of the housekeeping stuff. I want to segue over to really introduce you guys to Tara Whitney. She is my guest today. And like I said, all month we've been talking about this idea of wellness and really rejecting this idea that we have to be in balance, and that really balance is this unrealistic expectation and pressure that we put on ourselves, and instead moving over to this idea of wellness as something that is really connecting our spirit, our heart, our soul, our mind, our body in ways that allow us to be much more present in our lives and also accepting ourselves to be exactly where we're at. Now, Tara Whitney is a CPA, a business owner, a professional speaker, a writer, and also an executive health coach. So she's got lots of amazing credentials, but she's best known for successfully coaching women to change their relationship with food, overcoming binge eating and overeating, and also creating a life that they fall in love with. And so today, Tara and I are going to really be talking about this idea of the messages that we as women get about our bodies and how we can move into this really disordered place of shame and rejecting our bodies. And also that we almost have to create this almost counterculture or counter belief to the culture about our bodies needing to look or be a certain way in order to be accepted, and instead being able to really move to that idea of wellness and recognizing that, the more that we're tuned into our body and letting go of our fears and insecurities, the more we're really able to embrace the true essence of who we are and really set ourselves free. So I'm really, really excited to be able to share this interview with you guys and allow you guys to get to know Tara as I have over the past few months. So without further ado, Tara Whitney. So I am so excited to introduce Tara Whitney to the show today. We met through a mutual friend. And like I said earlier, when I was introducing, kind of giving her more formal introduction, is that she's been so gracious as I've been getting over this gunk to be able to reschedule. So I'm so excited to finally be recording this episode with Tara and being able to just dive in and get to know each other a little bit more and really introduce you guys to her and share her work with you. So thank you so much for being on the podcast today.
Yeah, thank you. I'm so happy to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. So Tara, before we started recording, I kind of recorded an introduction and I shared kind of your more formal introduction. But is there anything that you would like kind of in your own words to be able to introduce kind of a little bit about your work and what you do, especially with women around reconnecting with their bodies and things like that? You want to share just a little briefly about your work before we dive into our talk today?
Yeah, absolutely. I feel, I'll just toss a couple things out here.
Awesome.
So this was one of the first years I created some concrete goals for myself. I'm pretty goal oriented, but this year I said, you know what? I want 1,000 women to hear my message. And, my message is really around getting women to rethink about food and rethink about their body, especially as it relates to their own worth. And the reason why that's so important is because I've experienced it myself. I've seen it with the women that I've coached, is their whole life, and my whole life at one point, was just absolutely consumed and taken over by this idea that I had to lose 5 pounds, 10 pounds, 15 pounds, 20 pounds, whatever it was at the time. And what I found for myself and what I found for the women that I've worked with is that they end we're selling ourselves short and we're not really living a full life. But yet what's happening is that everywhere around us, everywhere we look, every place in social media, even in politics, we're hearing that we somehow need to lose weight or that somehow our bodies aren't good enough. And we're hearing it and then we're believing it. And so really I've made it my mission, Anna, to really send a different message so that women can start to change not only their view of themselves, but their relationship with food. And I just know that when we do that, our families will feel that, our workplace will feel it. we'll obviously feel it, and then just the world will be in, sort of a glorious view. The world will be a better place.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I love this idea of this ripple effect, right? That by being able to really identify with our self-worth based on who we are, not how, the rest of the world sees us and the standards we need to fit into, but that then creates this ripple effect, like you said, in our families, in our partnerships, in our friendships, in our workplace, all those sorts of things. But I really love this idea of this number 1,000 that you came up with, right? That really is the start of the pebble that creates the ripple. And so what was it about 1,000 women hearing your message that felt like that will start a motion, that will start an action, that will start a wave?
Sure. Well, and I've been doing this for some time now. So it was a number where I thought, well, if I'm connecting with 1,000 women, one, that felt like that's a lot of people. That it sort of gave me that sort of sick feeling. And then I thought, well, you know what? It lit a fire under my ass. It was kind of like, I need to change how I view my work and myself and really internalize and feel the urgency of this message, because I think it all goes hand in hand. When we're struggling with our sense of worth and our relationship with food, then we'll minimize everything about our life. And so it was really important for me to really step into this action, and for me this year to step into this action and say, oh, no, I'm not going to be sitting by the sidelines while we continue to do this. And that women continue to hear messages that, they don't need to be hearing.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and I'm just excited to be able to be part of an audience that gets to be part of your 1,000 people. So you've got me hooked. So tell me a little bit about, when you're working with women and they really are wanting to, do they come to you because they want to explore their relationship with food? Is that something they've identified, or is it typically because they're coming to you because they're having their struggles with their body image or self-acceptance? How do women find you to begin working with you?
That's a great question. So they have a suspicion. The women that are attracted to me, quite honestly, are women that have gotten to the point where they're just done with dieting. They've said, this is enough. I know what I've been doing isn't working, and I'm really tired of continuing to try to do it. So they have this little suspicion, but they're not quite sure how to get there. So when we start to work together, it's quite a challenge, because we're unwinding everything that they know to be, true or false, but everything that they've been trying. And then I'm teaching them really a new way, but it's really the way we've all been born, which is how to consider food and how to think about food and how to nurture and treat our bodies.
Yeah, absolutely. And so thinking of that, women coming to you and they've got this suspicion, or they've got this inkling that what they're trying isn't working. They clearly know that. But is there any part of the work that you do with women where they actually are surprised about the magnitude of the messages that they're getting from not only, maybe within their relationships, but at a societal level about their bodies? Or is there part of them that is shocked about how much the diet industry is something that's just infiltrated our thinking? Is that something that they've got awareness around? Or it's really about opening our eyes of, we have to be aware of how much we're consistently getting these messages over and over that our worth is tied to how we look?
Sure. So I think the work that I do in particular, what becomes very eye-opening for the women I coach, is how they heard the message so early in their life.
Oh, yes.
We're talking 6-year-olds and 7-year-olds, or at this very early age. And in doing that, the coaching that I'm doing is so much around going back there and unwinding those messages so that what has them overeating and needing to diet in the first place is no longer what's running the show. So that's probably their biggest eye opener, is oh, wait, I've been carrying this around for decades and I didn't even realize it. And so then they start to look at their whole entire life and realize that that's why they've been afraid to take a new exercise class. That's why they're afraid to go on vacation. That's why they're afraid to go for a job promotion. And that's why they're afraid to get out there and find a new relationship. So, I have this, to make sure I'm answering your question, and I want to make sure I do that. I've given a lot of thought about what my message in this movement that I'm creating, how to go about it. And I think looking around and being aware, for women to be aware that these messages are out there is important. But fighting them, I don't think is where we're best served right now, right? Because we'd be fighting a multi-billion-dollar industry.
Exactly.
Right. And sadly, Oprah is part of that industry. Like our sister, who I thought was, anyway, we can go there, we could not go there. But
no, I think it's an important insight for us to be able to realize that somebody who has been such a mentor and a voice also has openly struggled in a way of losing weight, changing body, like versus that place of self-acceptance that you're really talking about.
Yeah, exactly. And not buying into this idea that our life is going to be magically better because we've lost 20 pounds. Right. It's the process that really makes the difference. And so my movement, and I'm not alone in this movement, of course, but why I feel the message going about this message and really making big changes is that those quiet changes that we make within ourselves. So it's recognizing how pervasive it is everywhere we look, but then turning and saying, I don't need to believe that. Because that is our power of choice. That's what we get. So we can let those companies spend millions and millions of dollars, and we can let, they can send these messages to us, but really it's about what we choose to believe, is what we choose to buy into. And so that's why I think it's so important that, women who do suspect that there's a different way are getting together and are supporting each other and having different conversations. And so when we're out with girls or men, and we're having a nice time, we're not talking about calories and we're not talking about carbs making us fat. And we're not talking about, oh, I feel so full. Like it's a supportive conversation that is at a completely different level. And that's what needs to be had.
But I love that's such an empowered shift, because if you think about it, if the whole movement is around screaming at the diet industry, who, like you said, it's a multi-billion-dollar industry, and saying, stop sending us those messages, stop it, right? We've given up all of our power, right? We're focusing on something that is so much bigger than us versus, like you said, making that choice of saying, that's not my message anymore. That's not what I'm buying into. And therefore I have the power within myself to move to that place of self-acceptance and that place of responsibility around what are the messages that I am feeding myself, so that nourishment is so much more around wellness than it is this idea of being a certain way.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. It's grassroots.
Yeah.
Right. And here's the other thing a little subtlety that I just picked up on what you said, which is, the reason why this is important is often for mothers. It's for families who are watching, children that are watching their parents and their relationship with food. Because in some ways, children only are going to pick up what they see their parents do, and then what their friends are doing, of course, and then what they're reading and watching. But for them, why we need to make a change here is because children are growing up, and if their mom struggled, then daughters are, and I had the same message for myself, it's like, if I saw my mother struggle, then I thought, well, my relationship with food must mean I need to struggle too.
Yeah.
And that's not my mother's fault. It was for me to take on and to shift and change my relationship. But I can tell you that for so many of the women that I coach, when I talk to them about their diet history, their mother was dieting. Mm-hmm. And it's all they know. So it's a lot to relearn. it's not impossible because it's part of us. It's just an instinctive part of us that we already know how to listen to hunger and fullness cues. We really know what kind of food we love. We know what it takes to nurture our bodies, but it's a relearning to get back to those basics.
Yeah. And I think that that's so powerful, you know, as a mom of a daughter and as a daughter of myself, that's one thing that I'm so aware of, the messages that I got around food and also the messages that I want my daughter to see me having with food, not talking about it as much, but what am I doing with it, right? How am I treating my body? How am I talking about my body? How am I talking about food? Is there this idea of good food versus bad food? Like just really being mindful that those aren't the messages that I want to send. But it is a whole lot different when you've got eyes watching you.
Yeah. And I think the industry is we're so entrenched in it that what I'm seeing is a lot of moms or a lot of parents will even say, you know, don't eat that food or don't eat this food or you can't have this or you can't have that. And it's all very well-meaning. All very well-meaning. It's like in the tune of, well, I want you to be healthy and I want you to make great choices. But then there's messages that get sent around, oh, well, I can't have that because I can't gain weight. Or, you know, so what I'm saying is that I think there's a lot of parents that mean well, but then they put restrictions on their kids that really end up very much creating this diet mentality, right? Because we have, and I understand it, but yet it certainly can be an issue for some children.
Yeah, absolutely. And those messages, like you said, they can be very subtle, they can be well-meaning, but they're also really missing the mark of what we're wanting to model to our kids. Yeah, absolutely. So when we first spoke, when we first got introduced to each other, this idea that I just love that you were talking about is that women really need to swim upstream from what they've been told, right? Kind of this counter movement to what we've been told. Will you expand on that a little bit of kind of what you mean when you talk about women needing to swim upstream from what they've been told?
Sure. So I would say, you know, the first thing is that, and this sort of feeds a lot into what we've been talking about, which is this young girls being brought up in this environment where they're basically being told that they need to be smaller, they need to be skinnier, and therefore that's really what is part of how that influences their self-worth. So what swimming upstream means would be that, you know, somehow they're hearing, you know, a different conversation and they're hearing a different message. And in that, they're banding together in some ways, bringing up a community of women and girls just like themselves that are willing to go against the grain. And so in that, they're quietly dismissing these messages and they're eating in tune with their body and they're taking risks in their life. So, you know, they have a level of confidence so that they're able to say, well, I'm not going to be playing small. I'm not going to be playing quietly. You know, so it's everywhere we look. But I think the biggest part of the swimming upstream, Anna, is that they're not doing it alone and they realize what they're doing, meaning that there's an acknowledgement that what they're hearing isn't true and that they get to choose something different. Yeah.
Oh, I love that idea. I mean, the imagery that comes with thinking of swimming upstream is that it does take effort, right? It isn't something that we just do by chance. Like there is a choice amongst it. There is an effort amongst it, but then also the strength that if there's more of us swimming upstream, we're able to, you know, think about salmon, they're able to kind of use each other to really get farther up because they're collaborating together versus just one salmon swimming upstream.
Yeah. And that there's a really acute awareness. There's a really acute awareness of what they're seeing. And then there's conversations. There are different conversations in the family, in the home, in the schools, in extracurricular activities, in the workplace. Because, I mean, that, you know, we hear it on the radio, we hear it on there's ads and such. And it's like, you know, to be in your home and to hear an ad and then to have a conversation like, well, let's just talk about that for a minute. Is that really true? Do you see what they're trying to target? Do you see the message they're trying to send us? You know, that, you know, if you take this pill or if you lose these 10 pounds, then you get to play around with these beautiful dogs in your home in Hawaii, right?
Right.
Like they're obvious signals and messages that were being sent. And it's really important that part of this movement is that we look around and we pull them out and we see them for what they are.
Oh, I love the idea of being able to dissect that and have a conversation about it, because it's coming into your home, right? Whether you've invited it or not, if you turn on the TV or open a magazine, it's come into your home. And so how do you really have that conversation? I love that idea. Because again, it's a much more empowered place of versus stop sending me this message. It's saying this message has come in and what do we do with it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Very cool.
Yeah. And I wonder, what would the world be if so many people didn't think they had to be on a diet? Like, what can you imagine? Can you imagine if you polled all of these not just girls, but men, and just kind of looked and said, how would you view yourself in food if you didn't think you had to lose weight? And what kind of freedom would be open up to you? Like, how would you even look at yourself differently if you said, this is where my body is and I don't need to lose weight, but this is the only body I'm going to get. So how do I get to nurture it in a way? How do I get to fuel it? How do I get to feel good in it? And not without the pressure of needing to lose a certain number of pounds. And when you jump on the roller coaster because you weigh yourself every morning, and how that can spiral you out of the impact that can have as well.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the profound effect, because you think about all the energy that would be freed up, like the amazing things that people would create and have the energy to create because they were in a place of self-acceptance with their bodies and not preoccupied with looking or weighing a certain amount. Like the possibilities are endless, right? Of what we would look like if we were in that place of self-acceptance. This is the only body I've been given. What do I do with it in a very nurturing way?
Right.
Yeah.
I was coaching a woman that was graduating from high school and getting ready to go to college. And, you think about how amazing our college years can be, right? Like there's just so much opportunity there. Our first time being out of our parents' homes on our own. And I was so grateful to be able to coach her, knowing that she could spend 4 years and not be struggling with food.
Right.
That she could take risks, not be hiding, not feeling sick from binging and overeating, or feeling like she needed to restrict her calories and the food that she ate, that her relationship with food could just be where it was, and that she got to be 100% in her college experience is that's the gift we want for all of our
Yes. Yes. Talk about a gift.
Yeah. And then I looked at how I was struggling with food when I was in college, and, how much energy it took, how much time it took, how much of my mind share it took.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think about my college experience, and that's when I really identified with soothing through food. I was out of state and living states away from my family and not knowing anybody. And so what was the easiest way to feel comfort? It was like, all right, well, let me go eat. And it was the first time that I can remember, wow, food was something that brought comfort, and really realizing kind of that pinnacle point of the pin drop there of that's where it really started, of a relationship where food would provide comfort or soothe feelings of loneliness, of all those sorts of things, of fear, all those things that come when you go away to college for the first time.
Right. And I think that's really where, for so many people who struggle with food or continue to struggle with food, food serves that purpose in that moment. And for many people, it's the best they can do. So I never say, oh, you somehow made a mistake. You were doing the best that you could at the time until you knew better.
Yeah.
And so it's certainly very common to be soothing with food. It's just, again, it's like, okay, so, is how do you encourage people to really be with those emotions and have a level of self-care, how to take care of themselves so that there are other options to soothe without turning to food? Because obviously food is so easy, and it's the first thing that people will often go to, and it certainly does the trick if it needs to.
Well, that's what I loved about when you and I first spoke on the phone, is this idea that feelings are so big, and it is much easier to grab the Oreos because they're always there, they're much more reliable, and it is this quick shortcut out of our feelings, right? I'm feeling something, I don't know what it is, it's overwhelming, and look, here's something that I can put into my body to soothe it instantly and quick shortcut me out of it, rather than, like you said, being able to be, mindful about what's going on for me. What is the self-care that I need to do in order to connect and soothe those feelings versus, in a much different way through that escape.
Right. Oh, and that's it. I mean, really what we're talking about is how to live. That's what we're really talking about.
Isn't that true, right? So talk more about that.
Well, I have some friends who do a lot of work with dependency on alcohol and drugs. And not a lot of friends, one close friend in particular. And, what we talk about is there's this need to escape. Sometimes because things get so big and we just want a way out. And sometimes that way out for some people could be a highly functioning form that will never sort of get them in trouble. And I use those words pretty loosely. But in other ways...
I saw the air quotes.
You saw in trouble?
Right.
And in other ways, it's things that form a habitual pattern where it doesn't serve that person well at all. So what I have found more and more is that when you change your relationship with food, you change your relationship with yourself. And that has nothing to do with food. It has absolutely nothing to do with food, because food sat over at the side and it was there only to soothe. It was there because that person needed a distraction. It was there because that person believed they needed to lose weight and was in this dieting restriction mentality. It was there because they needed an outlet. I mean, we could probably list 20 reasons, but it's like that for maybe any form of distraction that we're looking at. For someone who maybe shops and spends, gambles, uses drugs, uses sex, whatever, there's a variety of things out there. So ultimately, when you peel those pieces away, what you're left with is how to heal your relationship with yourself. And really peeling back those layers of, okay, how do I be with this emotion without looking to take it away? Which can be really freaking hard for people.
Oh, absolutely. Like completely overwhelming, right? How do I look at this feeling and not be engulfed by it?
Right. How can I feel like I'm going to, just combust, or if I have this heaviness in my chest, I don't want to feel this heaviness in my chest, or, I know for me and for women I coach, anger is a big one. It's not fun to be angry. It's not nice to be angry, but we can feel anger, but yet don't want to. But if we push it down, then maybe we don't have to feel it. We don't have to acknowledge it that we feel that angry. And so the process of healing this relationship with food and therefore ourselves is giving ourselves space to be all of that, to be angry, to be sad, to be anxious. And again, those messages we're hearing is, let's just grab a beer and go to and I'm not saying that that's a bad thing, or let's, what we're seeing a lot in a lot of TV shows is let's just pour a big ass glass of wine. And I'm not going to judge that. I'm just saying that these are other messages that we're now getting on how we can soothe in a different way.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I just think it's so right? We're talking about how to live life, right? And that's a scary conversation to have. I mean, I've got chills right now thinking about it, because we also have most likely had experiences where life has been really scary or really overwhelming. And the idea of living life can be more than we think we can handle. And that's what happens with fear, right? Something becomes, there's some saying, and I always butcher sayings, but it's like, if you grab a thistle very gingerly, like, you're going to get poked, versus if you grab a hold of it fiercely, like all the thistles fall away. Right. And that's kind of like life, that when we go at it and we're very timid and we go, oh my gosh, I can't feel this, or I can't do this, it all overwhelms us. Right. Whereas if we move into it, we're no longer small. We're no longer quiet. We're saying, this is life and I'm going to live it. It actually becomes something that we can do because we're no longer hiding away from it. But like you said, no judgment. There are experiences that have shown us that life should be something that we should be feared of, or that we should be fearful of. And the undoing of those messages is really, really powerful.
Yeah, absolutely. And fear is where all the juice is, right? Like, it's one of those things that I think about kind of what I'm fearful of. And I do a lot of, reading around this as well. And what I've come to find more and more is that when I try to avoid fear, it just creates more angst and suffering, really.
Right.
My attempt to avoid what I'm fearing and what I'm scared of actually creates more of a struggle within me. And so being in this place where I know I don't have to take it away, but I can be with it and then just set it aside and then move into the place I want to move into is, I think, really what it's all about. And when you look at food and you look at why people are struggling with food, yes, there's the emotional pieces of it. Maybe we're fearing sadness, we're fearing anger, we're fearing, how all of that relates to us personally. But, how about that fear of not being good enough, right? And so the fear of being unworthy and how we work so hard to hide.
Or undeserving, right?
Or undeserving. Yeah, absolutely. So when you look at being able to just even say, wow, I have this fear that I'm not good enough. Okay, well, geez, maybe that's why you want to lose weight so badly. Let's take away that fear, or let's set that fear aside. And so can you have a different relationship with food that's not driven by a fear that you need to lose weight in order to feel good and feel good about yourself or feel like you're deserving of the love and abundance you have in your life.
Yeah. Well, and I think that speaks to all these gifts that we have been offered that we will reject when we are in a place of feeling not worthy or undeserving. We have people that are wanting to build relationships with us, experiences that are coming to our doorstep, and because we don't feel that we deserve them yet, right? That we then reject those gifts or those opportunities because we're not there yet. Right? We haven't achieved that weight, that goal. So therefore we don't deserve it. And it's just a tragedy, because my thought is that when we are offered gifts, whether it's through relationships or experiences or opportunities, those gifts are just for us, right? It's not like, you give me a Starbucks gift card and I hate Starbucks, so I then can gift that to somebody else who loves Starbucks, right? Like, it doesn't work that way. When gifts come into our life, they are meant just for us. And that when we reject them, it doesn't mean somebody else then gets it. It means that gift is then lost because we didn't feel we were deserving enough yet or worth enough yet to be able to receive it.
Yeah, I think that's beautifully said and speaks to a lot about the lost opportunities that we have when we're, on the treadmill or weighing and measuring our food or, logging into Weight Watchers and counting how many points we had or how many we have left. It's that same thing when our head is down and we're taken over by all of this, then those gifts are coming our way. And it's almost like an FU, like, I'm going to keep going over here and keep trying to do this so that when it does come, then maybe I'll be okay. But meanwhile, the cycle never stops, ever.
Right. You never get to the yet. You never get to the enoughness. It never happens.
No, because it's like a bottomless well. Right. Like, and not only that, what I've seen a lot is that then there'll be some sabotaging that will come into place. Right. Like, women might say, okay, I'm almost there. I'm making these great strides. And then this fear of either actualizing this or the fear of like, well, wait, I really believe that I am unworthy. So let me prove to myself that I'm right. They'll start sabotaging all of their efforts. And so that's why, changing your relationship with food is changing your relationship with yourself, and they have to go hand in hand.
Yeah, I agree. Well, and I think, thinking about kind of our conversation today, tell a little bit about the other side, right? Like the amazing work you do with women and really being able to come into their lives in such an intimate space, right? Exploring their relationship with food and also unprogramming decade-old messages that they've had around worthiness and food and diets and those sorts of things. Tell me about the other side. Like, what do you see happens for your clients when you're working with them around something that is decade-old messages?
Yeah. So, and there's all these nuances, but what I see is, clients that fall in love with the love of their life, right? That maybe 2 or 3 years ago, they would have not even considered such a person. because they might not have felt worthy, or they might have thought that they needed or had to have somebody different in their life. I see women relax. I mean, and I know that's so true for me, and I think it's so powerful. Like, I see women who are able to be at a holiday party or host their family for the holidays and not be all stressed out. Like, they're able to not worry about the food that's either there or not there, and they're not worried about what they're eating or not eating, and they get to just enjoy it. I think that being present for ourselves and our loved ones is like one of the most amazing gifts, because we're offering our attention and to people. And I think that's what I see more and more. So yeah, down the road, they might be, off doing some other amazing things, but probably the quickest and the fastest things I see is just that they can relax around food, and they get to be present for the people that are around them. And, when they've struggled, they've hidden, and they've been quiet, and they've been reserved, and they're beating themselves up. And then when they're not, they're like open and available.
Yeah. Fully there, fully living life.
Yes.
Yeah. That's awesome. Oh, I love this conversation. I'm so excited about it. So as we kind of come to an end though, I want you to share your message again. Share this message that you want to make sure that 1,000 women hear this year. Share it again, because I want to make sure that we're so clear and that we, my audience and myself are part of hearing that message and creating this amazing ripple effect.
Yeah. So what I want every woman to hear is that their worth has nothing to do with their bodies, and that they can have a loving and nurturing relationship with food that sets them free. And in doing that, they will be able to just, like I said, relax and feel great in their life. And it's such a simple thing, Anna. It's so simple. And it's really important that we get there. It's really important that we get there for ourselves, for the people we love, for our children. And I would say, for starters, we need to know a couple of things. One, our bodies hold a wisdom that is so much more powerful than the messages that we're hearing. And it just requires us to listen. Two, we need to form a tribe of people around us so that we can get more and more strength in numbers, so that we can call and talk to friends and family honestly about thinking about a new relationship with food that doesn't include diet and restriction. And then we need to start taking risks, meaning that we need to set our fears aside and start taking these steps towards the things that we love, because the process will unfold when we do that. Whatever it is, whatever that gets us out of bed every morning, we need to make and take steps towards those things. And that will uncover so much. That process in and of itself will heal so much. And so it's important that women are willing to step outside of what boundaries they think they have.
Yeah. Allow themselves to be bigger.
Yeah.
Oh, so cool. Okay. So Tara, how can people get a hold of you if they want to learn more about your work, reach out to you? If there's questions they have about our conversation, how can they get a hold of you?
Yeah, absolutely. So I have one of those funny websites with a dash in between her name.
All right.
It's tara-whitney.com. And my email is tara@tara-whitney.com.
Okay,
and I write regularly, Anna, and probably, every couple weeks I'll post something, and I send regular newsletters out. And so that's probably the quick and easiest way to stay in touch with me, is to jump on my website and sign up for my newsletter, or by all means, if there are any questions, I'd love to hear from those women that heard me speak with you today.
Awesome. Fantastic. And I'll include your website in the show notes too, so folks have that to be able to click through to it. So, well, Tara, I can't thank you enough for just sharing of your wisdom and your expertise and your grace today. This is such a powerful, powerful message. And also thinking about this fact of this whole idea of the month of January that we're really devoting to this idea that kind of, balances BS and that we need to move to this place of acceptance and wellness. I just feel like it fits so perfectly with what we're really focusing our energy on this month. So thank you so much for taking the time to be on the podcast today.
Yeah, you're welcome. And I'm so appreciative of the opportunity, Anna. Thanks for having me. This has been a lot of fun.
Yay, I'm so glad. I absolutely loved that interview with Tara Whitney. Oh my gosh, there were so many amazing pieces of it. And I'm honestly really excited to hear your guys' feedback too. It has been really fun to be able to really challenge this idea of balance and really explore what we mean by wellness. And I just feel like Tara's interview is such a wonderful just addition to what we've been talking about all month. At the very end of the interview, she talks about that when we're feeling feelings and we're not numbing out, when we're actually kind of leaning into them and soothing them in a healthy way, in a way that brings us closer to ourselves, that we're really talking about how to live. And that just absolutely stood out for me. Like I got chills when she said that, because it is so true that so much about our lives is living them, And I think that especially when it comes to a diet culture and especially a multi-billion-dollar industry and these ideas of weight loss and being this perfect size in order to have worth or to have value, that really looking at, there's so many messages we get that is what we're supposed to do to have worth, but really moving over to this place of acceptance and responsibility for the messages that we accept and that we buy into, that we're talking about life and how to live it, and that it is messy at times. And there are times that we can feel like we have been given way more than we can handle. And yet we still are asking ourselves to be fully present in it. And that just it's the powerful, most courageous warrior work out there, right? So I really, really enjoyed my time with Tara. And I know that you guys did too. I encourage you guys to reach out to her. You can reach her at tara-whitney.com, and I'll include the link in the show notes. And then obviously you can always reach out to me, to Anna at herlifeunscripted.com, or via the SpeakPipe app. I love when you guys send in voice feedback. It's so fun. There's some of you that do it often, and there's some of you that I know listen and have hardly done it. So if you feel like, I don't know about that tech thing, give it a whirl, reach out and let me know kind of what you're thinking of these episodes. And if you have somebody amazing in your life, including yourself, that you would like to be interviewed for the show because you feel like you really could connect with our audience, please reach out. Like I would love to meet you and have you on the podcast. I think it would be a great way for you to be able to share your life and your journey and your learnings with our audience. So that is all I have for you guys today. I am so excited to be able to be back in action and talking and moving and out of bed. And I'm just excited that I got this time to slow down with you guys all. And I encourage you to head over to the Facebook page, Her Life Unscripted, and you can check out the information on the Shine Retreat coming up at the end of September. Or you're also welcome to email me or Mari about more information to info@shineretreatforwomen.com. And of course, I'll have all those notes all those links and things in the show notes. So thank you guys so much for letting me into your worlds, into your hearts. It is a beautiful day, and I'm excited to be here with all of you. So take care. Talk to y'all soon. Bye-bye.
Want to learn about the latest retreats, workshops, and speaking events hosted by Anna? Head over to herlifeunscripted.com to get in on all the juicy details. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review the podcast so we can continue to grow our amazing audience. Lastly, be sure and send in your voice feedback via the SpeakPipe app or to Anna at herlifeunscripted.com. We can't wait to hear from you.